Hey everybody, it's Holly
And Heather.
and welcome to another Sunday edition of Everything Elvis. Today, y'all, lots to talk about. There's been some lively discussions this week about Graceland, the wall, the historic marker. So much to talk about. We want to get everyone's thoughts and opinions on it. I know it's been a hot topic in the comments on Facebook and stuff. A lot of people have made some really good points, really great posts. I have pictures in case you have no idea what we're talking about. I've got some pictures for you guys. So, Heather.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going good. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Hope everybody had a great Mother's Day as well last Sunday.
Yes. And also, I wanted to we'll talk briefly about it. They had the parts 3 and 4 of the Judds documentary. Did everyone watch it? It was a 4-parter. Did you watch it? What'd you think? I'm telling you what, I'm still not over it. Heather, did you finally get to watch it all?
I didn't. I'm going to be honest. I did watch the first and second part.
Yeah.
But I didn't have time to watch the third and fourth, so maybe I'll try to catch that this week. But we can still talk about it. I mean,
You got it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you all about it. But yeah,
what spoilers?
We did part 1, kind of, because they did part 1 and 2 last weekend. What did you guys think of it? I thought it was fantastic from beginning to end. I thought I knew everything about the Judds. I was wrong. A lot of bombshells, a lot of secrets came out. But you know what? I think hopefully this will kind of put an end to all this to that bad chapter in everyone's life. Sometimes when you get it out in the open, you talk about it. It kind of just makes the problem.
Closure.
Yeah, it brings you closure. So I'm really hoping that this documentary brought closure for especially Winona and Ashley, but also Larry.
Yeah.
And everybody involved. But yeah, what did you guys think of it? I just thought it was wow. And now my list of books to read, just my list of Elvis related books alone to read is staggering. And now, y'all, I'm going to have to get 2 or 3 of those Judds books and read them. So thank goodness for the audio books. I'm going to really try because when I have my 4-hour drive to Dad's, and Heather does too, but I have one there and one back, and I should be able to knock out a ton of books. But you know how it gets? You're like, oh, I don't want to listen to it right now, or oh, I'm going to listen to some music, or I'm going to listen to this podcast, or whatever. So I've really got to buckle down and get these audiobooks under my belt. So I'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah.
You want to say hi to some people while they're jumping on?
Absolutely. Let's see. Hello, Jane, watching from Pennsylvania. Good to see you as well. Hello, Sarah. Always good to see you. Let's see. She said she's heading home to New York from Ohio.
Oh, fun. That does sound fun.
Hello, Penny. Thank you. She loves our shirts. Represent. Hello, Teresa. Great to see you. Barbara. Hello. She watched the Judds. Thought it was good. Deborah. She's asking, where do you watch it? It was on Lifetime. It was on the Lifetime network. But I'm sure you can probably, by now, somebody's put it on YouTube or something.
I would think. Or if you go to your cable provider, we have Xfinity and Comcast. So you can go back in. I have a little Xfinity app that I can watch on my iPad, or I'm sure there's one on your TV. You can go in and just type in Judds, and it'll pop it up, and usually you can rewatch it. I know with Comcast you can do that. You can rewatch stuff a gazillion times. I don't know about the other providers, but just check with your cable provider or, Lifetime. They're probably, and I bet you anything that was so popular, they're probably going to re-air it. So I would just keep checking it at Lifetime.
Yeah, it's probably re-airing this week, I would say. They'll probably re-air it for at least, I'd say, the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I would think so. So just keep checking.
Hello, Elaine. She says, OMG. Yes, I watched it. It was so sad.
I'm telling you, so sad. I had a tear in my eye the entire time.
Yeah. Hello, Norma. You're a sweetheart. She says, watching you guys is the best part of her Sunday.
That's so sweet.
Hello, Angelique. She says she watched the first part.
Yeah.
Howdy from Texas, Deborah. Well, howdy from Tennessee. Hello, David. Always fantastic to see you on here.
Yes.
Yes, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, there was quite a bit. I'll tell you one thing. Elvis fans are nothing if not passionate. And
passionate and vocal.
Vocal and opinionated. I'm going to tell you what. And sometimes it gets a little, you can't please everybody.
Negative or hateful?
Well, it's just, if you do one thing, they don't like it. If you do another, they don't like it. It's a lot. But us here. We're just going to do a little lively discussion and keep it positive because that's what we're about here. We are not here for controversy or negativity or anything or putting anybody down. We are just here to discuss and hopefully come to, a better solution with everything. But we'll see. We'll see. So, Heather, other than that, anything else going on in the Elvis world before we dig in?
No, not really. Not really. Just still gearing up for Elvis week. It's getting closer and closer. We're, getting pretty close to that major countdown for Elvis week. It's about
3 months, isn't it? Almost.
Less than that.
Oh, gosh.
Less than that now.
Wow. Time is flying by. I'm telling you what.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited. So, I know. So, other than that, why don't you just dig in?
Yeah, so that's kind of, like I said, I love to kind of scan the Facebook and social media and everything every week and just kind of see what's being talked about and what everybody's, bringing up about Elvis or Graceland or whatever. And it just so happens that this week, I saw I think I first saw it on Graceland Insiders. I can't really remember. But anyway, somebody posted a picture and then I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And then, of course, I went down the rabbit hole of reading all the comments and stuff. And then a lot of people were posting about it. Because, it's kind of like anything else. Once, something catches on, it catches on like wildfire.
Yes.
But anyway, there was a lot of discussion this week about the historical marker that's in front of Graceland.
Yes.
And just a little bit of context for those of you that maybe haven't been to Graceland or you haven't seen pictures and stuff. So when you're standing in front of Graceland, obviously the gates are right there, the infamous gates that everybody knows and loves. And then there is a long brick wall that goes all the way down in front of Graceland. And then right over from the gates, there is what I just call a historical marker that they have there that kind of, commemorates like, Elvis and talks about, him and everything. And I think Holly might have a picture of it. We might even be able to read what it says.
So do you want a picture of okay, so I have 3 pictures. One I can't give credit to because I just snapped it. I just took a screenshot on Facebook, so I apologize if it's your picture. But it was a Elvis fan. They took a picture of what the marker looks like right now with this fence around it. But our friend David also sent me some pictures of the marker and the gates back in 1983. So would you like to see what it looked like in 83?
Yeah, we will. We will. So basically, yeah, it just says, Elvis Aaron Presley, and then I actually have a picture on my phone that Holly and I took in front of it. I don't know. I couldn't find exactly when we took this, but it looks probably about maybe 2019, something like that. But it basically just says a little something like Elvis Presley was born in Tupelo, Mississippi on January 8th, 1935, the son of Vernon and Gladys Presley. He moved to Memphis in 1948. Soon after signing a contract with Sun Records in 1954, he achieved, and then I can't see for my head, something popularity, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But anyway, so it's basically just, talking about Elvis and his impact and kind of commemorating him and everything. And so that sign stands right there to the right of the gates. And so over the years, we all know, and this is what we're going to talk about today and kind of discuss, we all know that everybody, when they make their trek to Memphis and to Graceland, especially for the first time, people always want to sign the brick wall that goes along the front of Graceland. And then over the years, that has progressed to people signing the actual gates and people signing this historical marker and writing, all over it. And then I think years ago, Graceland added like a plexiglass over it to try to, deter people from writing on it. And then also to make it a little bit easier to maintain and to clean. And people still continue to write on it. And it doesn't look great. And I know even the last time, that Holly and I were there, I was thinking back to it because I feel like when Holly and I first started going, people were more respectful and they didn't write on that particular sign.
Yeah.
Like it was always on the wall,
Mhm.
but people didn't write on that sign. And then over the years, they started writing on it. And I noticed, like, here several years ago when Holly and I went, it was written all over. And I remember me being like, oh, why are people writing on this?
Yeah.
Like, don't write on this. And I remember there was a video that we even did, and it might have been last year. Remember, there was somebody that written their name, and I even, like, zoomed in on it. And I was like, da-da-da, you know, don't write on this sign.
Yeah.
And so they've written on that sign. So then, I guess this week, somebody posted a picture, and Graceland has now put like what I call a little wrought iron fence.
I have a picture if you'd like to see.
Yeah, a little wrought iron fence around the historical marker that I'm guessing is trying to deter people from writing and drawing and painting on the historical marker. But a lot of people were up in arms because they're talking about what an eyesore it is.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the marker's in jail now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a little jail cell.
Yeah. So this is kind of what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of get everybody's thoughts. Like, what do you think about it? So personally, I think that's an eyesore. I don't think that looks good. It, you know, draws like weird attention to it and everything. Now, I don't know. Is this a permanent fix? Is this something that, you know, Graceland is just doing temporarily? Are they trying to come up with another fix and another solution?
Was it even Graceland?
Yeah.
Or is it the Historic Society?
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying, because I guess the sign, and you researched this a little bit, and then I think David could speak to this, but we all know that Graceland opened in 1982 to the public. And that's when, you know, Priscilla Jack Soden opened it to the public, started allowing tours and visitors to the mansion. And that sign has obviously been there.
Yeah. And well,
since
okay.
then.
So
and
let's
a lot
go
of
back.
people are saying that the Tennessee Historical Commission or Society or whatever are the ones that place that there.
Yeah, and it's very odd because we had those historic markers all over Nashville because there's so many historic things. I mean, if you go to Music Row,
everybody's seen them. You know, like everybody knows what we're talking about. Like, you know, if you go to any kind of like historic mansion or building or place, they're always going to have one of those, you know, really nice like
markers. Yeah. But I have noticed too around Nashville, they're not graffitied on like that. I know that for like anytime you go around Music Row or the mansions or whatever, they're pristine.
The ramen,
Yeah, and you know, a little back context to this. So I was looking it up because there's also been a lot of controversy of people saying, half the people say Elvis hated the fans writing on the fence and the wall. The others say he loved it. Most people say we don't know. And you know, when I Googled it and researched it a little bit, this tradition started way before Elvis died. So people were coming and making their trek to Graceland way before Elvis died, and they were signing not the gates, and of course there was no marker, but they were coming and signing, you know, little fan notes to Elvis on this wall. You know, there's no definitive proof. We weren't there. I don't know Elvis. I didn't know Elvis. You know, no one really did. But from what I hear, most people say Elvis thought it was great. Like he appreciated it. And if I think about Elvis, was he maybe a little annoyed? Like, hey, I just, you know, paid a gazillion dollars for this beautiful, or, you know, this beautiful fence was here. It's like stone. It's like a stone fence. You know, maybe he was a little bit perturbed, but I don't know. Also, in another sense, I think he'd be like, oh my gosh, these people are writing me little love letters and, you know, signing their name. And that's, you know, so I think he would kind of think it's wonderful. I don't know. What do you think about it? You know, I feel like he probably enjoyed it. And then I did some research on Lisa Marie. They said Lisa Marie actually thought it was a great connection for the fans to her dad, and she didn't mind it at all. She just didn't want anybody jumping the fence and hopping over it. So she kind of appreciated and thought that that was like just a way for the fans to connect with Elvis. So, you know, I don't know. I think we'll never know. I do know this. It is officially on the Graceland side. I looked up what they thought about it, and they have a top tips when you come to Graceland, and one of the tips is bring a Sharpie and sign the wall. So they're kind of promoting encouraging it. You know, so I don't know. Like I say, I don't guess I have too much of a problem with the wall, but I do have a problem with the gates and with that marker.
Yes.
Only because the gates were something that Elvis, like, I don't know. I think the fence was probably, do you think it was probably already there when he bought Graceland, or did he have the fence built?
You mean the brick wall?
The stone wall.
I'm not sure.
I call it the fence because it's like fence in its proper end, but you know, I'm not sure. But we do know he did have those gates custom made and was so proud of them and had them installed and loved to go down there and greet the fans. So I just don't know about that, and it kind of irks me. I don't know what Elvis fan would think that it's all right to write on those beautiful gates. Like I say, the wall, I kind of get that. But the historic marker, absolutely not.
No, like that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. That, like, yeah.
Makes me mad.
Yeah, that makes me mad. And as, you know, like I said, the first time when Holly and I first started going, and we've not been going near as long as a lot of people. And, you know, we've not, you know, unfortunately we weren't there, you know, when Elvis was alive or right after the early days or whatever. But as long as we've been going, I didn't ever remember even the gates being written on and especially that sign. And then in recent years, I've noticed it. And every time it irks me and it bothers me because, you know, like Holly said, I've never really per se, I guess, thought as much about the wall because I just always heard people talk about it even before my first time going to Graceland. You know, I would hear people talk about, you know, going to Graceland and you got to sign the wall and, you know, people sign the wall and whatever. And so I didn't think much about that. But yeah, I mean, to me, there's something about the gates, especially that are so sacred.
Yeah. It's almost like
so sacred.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's about preservation as well. It's about preservation as well because, you know, Graceland is old, you know, Graceland is old and it's getting older by the day and by the year. And we've all seen, you know, all the restoration that they've been having and trying to do over the last few years with, you know, the meditation garden wall and those, you know, stained glass windows. And then there was even, you know, the lions out front. They had to do some preservation on and restoration here recently. And so over time, you know, that stuff is going to continue to, you know, erode and degrade and have to be, you know, restored and fixed and stuff. And so especially something like those gates that are so iconic and so precious to so many of us that love Elvis. It's like, you know, don't write on those. Why are you writing on those? Well, because, you know, I mean, I know that, and they talk about this too, because, you know, they do pressure wash.
I was just about to say the pressure washing.
Yeah,
but
the
that's
walls
damaging.
Yeah, they do pressure wash and stuff, the, you know, wall and everything a lot, you know, to kind of clean it up. And then, you know, people just start over. But yeah, if you're going to, you know, pressure wash those gates and stuff, again, the more and more times you do that, then the more and more and more they could possibly erode or, you know, disintegrate or whatever.
Get
and
cracks
so
and,
that really bothers me. That, and then, writing on that historical marker, like, why? Like, I don't even per se, like I said, the wall, I kind of feel like is one thing. But even, you know, like on the actual like walkway, like on the ground and stuff, don't write on it. Don't write on it either. You know?
Yeah, like I think they pressure wash and clean the wall every so often just because it does get so filled up with the writings, and I think they kind of refresh it to make it a clean slate so new people and new fans can come and have a place to write their message or their name or whatnot. But yeah, those gates, y'all.
Yeah, it just,
you're pressure washing away Elvis. Like he touched those gates. I mean, you know, it just you're just diminishing all the sacredness of those gates. And like I say, we live in Nashville, which is historical marker city, and it's also about country music and rock music. And there's so many like Legends homes here and studios, and I can't even recall. And you know, these people have some overzealous fans as well.
Yes,
you don't get more overzealous than a Dolly fan or maybe Tanya Tucker or Johnny Cash. And I still don't recall ever seeing that a marker about them anywhere was graffitied like that. It just doesn't happen. And I don't know. The other point to this that I want to make that we talk about is how do we fix that? What goes on? Like, I don't know. And I think in Nashville, there's a bit more of a presence for when the markers, like, say there's a marker outside of RCA Studio or a Music Row studio. I'm pretty sure they have people that are watching at all times. And if I were to like walk up there with my marker to do this, somebody's going to come out and be like, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. So I think they police it a little bit better here in Nashville. And that was my concern a lot of people were so mad about the fence. And like I say, this is still ongoing. We don't know. I don't have definitive proof if Graceland put that up or if the Historic Society, or, the state put that up. We don't know. If it was Graceland, I do think there may be better ways they could do it. I do think they could police it a little bit more. They have a 24-hour security guard there at all times. You can see in there, and they've got all the TVs watching stuff. All it would take is them walking out. If they see somebody going for the marker, just like, hey, you can sign the wall. Don't sign the gates, don't sign the marker. Maybe if they put up a plaque that's just like, please limit your signing to the wall only, or please do not sign, maybe something as simple as a plaque. I don't know. There's a lot of younger fans out there that, when you're young, you don't mean to be, but you're kind of a little bit disrespectful when you don't know it. I'm just going to say that. Like, when I was younger, who knows what I would have signed? I don't know. But I just think maybe that, so, I think start small. Put a plaque up saying, please do not mark on this. Let's see how that goes. Get the security guards involved. That should be part of their regime. It's part of their schedule. And it's like I told Heather, if you do have those yahoos that are riding on it, get the security guard. They have plexiglass now. That makes it so much easier. You can just kind of spray and wipe it off. Beginning of the shift, you come in. One of your duties as the security guard is to check that marker, check the gates, wipe off what you can, then the next shift, because I'm sure they have to have those in like 3 to 4 shifts a day. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I just think it's so crazy though, because like in my own mind, I'm like, who are these fans that are riding on that marker, that historical marker, and the gates? Because like, and I'm like, and how true,
can tell you.
Well, and I'm like, and how true of a fan are you? Because it would never, ever, ever, ever cross my mind to ride on those two things. Like ever. Would never cross my mind to ride on those two
things. That's what I think it is. I think it's that casual fan. I think it's like, an instance where mom and dad brought their teenagers, and the teenagers are like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's Elvis. All right, I'm going to ride on this, because they're not a big fan. Or maybe it's just people in passing. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. A true devoted Elvis fan is not going to desecrate those gates. Yeah. Especially the gates. Maybe the marker, but the gates, number one. But I think if you're a casual, like, hey, I just took this trip to Graceland because people said I need to, or, and you get a little bit enamored. Because I can't imagine, even if you don't even know who Elvis is, once you get to Graceland and take all the tours, I would think you kind of would gain a little bit of respect and a little bit of a perspective, and it might make you want to sign something. Yeah. So I think it's those casual fans.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because then, that opens up the whole thing. Like a lot of people were saying, I don't like the look of the fence, around the marker now. It looks tacky, or it's, an eyesore or whatever, which I kind of agree with. And a lot of people were saying maybe they should just move the historical marker behind the wall. And maybe that, would deter people. Like you'd have to go, into Graceland or whatever. But then again, I also think like that's something to be proud of. That historical marker, is something to be proud of. And so I don't know. I just think it should stay on the outside so that everybody can see it and enjoy it, because, maybe not everybody can, afford to tour Graceland or get through the gates or whatever. And so, that should kind of stand there as a proud symbol and a proud thing to honor Elvis and everything. Just, people need to stop writing on it. It's sad that we even have to have this conversation. Seriously, we have to sit here and say, why are people writing on it? People shouldn't write on it or whatever. And then, this whole topic and everything kind of brought up a whole Pandora's box and opened up a whole can of worms of, well, what about this? What about this and this and this? And there were so many different, opinions and things brought up about it, because, a lot of people were saying, well, just stop the writing on everything, stop the writing on the wall, on the sign, on the whatever. And I kind of see that, because absolutely. It's kind of like, how do you deter one and not the other?
And once again, the casual fan is going to see the wall, and just go on into it and be like, oh, well, here's some great spots on the gate. Nobody signed. Let me, But that's where I feel like the security guards right there in their little building just jump out and say, hey, sign the wall. The gates are off limits. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. And like we said, they do like pressure wash it every so often. And so, of course, names that were there in like 1982 are not there. They've long been gone and written over and whatever. But, it opens up that whole thing too, about, like again, what do you say it, like defacing property and about graffiti and all that. It brings up that whole idea and point of that as well, because you know, back when that whole big Black Lives Matters and the protest thing, and they wrote on the thing, you know, all of us were up in arms, and all the Elvis fans were up in arms about that. You know, how dare you disgrace and stuff. And that's a whole different, you know, idea and situation and thought behind that and what they were doing than, you know, people that in their minds are coming to honor Elvis and pay the respects, and they're wanting to, like, you know, sign the wall and say, you know, I was here in 2025, you know, or whatever.
Love you, Elvis.
Yeah, and that's a whole different, you know, thing. But you know, it brings up so much. It brings up so many different, you know, things and everything. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, I don't think Graceland has really commented much on putting this fence around it and why, and if it's permanent, is it whatever. And you know, that brought up a whole nother thing, because a lot of people were like, well, that's not going to deter anybody. They're just going to, you know, step right over it or lean right over it, especially if the security doesn't stop them. Well, and then people are like, that's also going to encourage people to, like, you know, throw like flowers and stuffed animals and
or
things,
put the little locks on that people do,
to the, like,
and that's going to be an eyesore. I mean, you don't need that. But you know, that is one thing I do kind of criticize a little bit of Graceland, is like, I don't understand, because they have to know, as I mean, there are people that I think dedicate their life to watching the Graceland live cam.
Oh yeah.
And there are Elvis fans that drive by every single day. Yes. So they had to have known as soon as that fence went up. I just know me, if I were Graceland, I would have been like, you know, let me nip all this in the bud. Let me put out a statement saying that, like, we did this, or the state did this. It's temporary. It's permanent. Here's why. Here's not why. You know, like, if they would just put out like a press release, like a little, or just a little blurb on Graceland's official Facebook page saying, hey, on this date, there's going to be a fence around it. Here's why we're putting it. And just answer everyone's questions, because then I think that squelches a lot. Because when you have all these unanswered questions and everybody starts like, oh, I heard it's temporary. Oh, I heard it's permanent. Oh, I heard EPE did it. Oh, I heard the state. Like, no one knows for sure. So that just keeps the fire going. So I don't understand. What do you think about it? Why do you think they don't, like, do a release? And do you think they just are like hoping it? No, I mean, they can't think that, like, oh, maybe no one will notice, or maybe it'll have been there a while, and then, you know, I just don't know. I just think anytime, it's like I always tell people with companies, anytime you keep something a secret, or you just ignore it and act like it's not there, it ignites the fire. Y'all worked in a company where, like, a policy change and, like, they don't address it, and then everybody in the office is like, what'd you hear? What do you think? Oh, this is what I heard. Da da da. You know, and that is so the Elvis community. So I always feel like you need to nip it.
Anything though, because you know, anything you do, people are going to have an opinion. And some are going to like it, some are going to hate it. And so, you know, in a lot of things, you're darned if you do, darned if you don't. You know, so, but still, you know, I feel like it's best to just come out and address it and say it. And, you know, that way it also kind of calms a little bit of that fodder, because, you know, now that is kind of the question. Is this a permanent solution? Is this a temporary fix? Like, what are they doing? Is it going to be moved? Is it going to be put somewhere else? Or are they going to, you know, do something more to monitor it and keep people from riding on it and stuff? But yeah, it's just so hard for me to fathom why people write on that. Like, it is literally, like I said, a historical thing that does a whole, like, little story about Elvis. And, like, why would you write over that and on that so that people can't, like, read it and see it? Like,
and also, it's not really a part of Elvis. Like, that was there before. I mean, after he died, like, that's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is part of, like, a state kind of historic honorary thing. It's not like, oh, Elvis touched this, or oh, this meant so much to Elvis. I'm gonna write, you know, like, I don't know. It's just, it's an odd thing. What are all the comments? Because I know,
I can't wait.
There's a ton.
Yeah, and what do you all think? Have you been to Graceland? Have you written on the wall? If you go, will you write on the wall? Do you want to? What do you think? You know, do you think that it should all stop? Do you think that the wall should be allowed still to write on, but not the gates and not the marker? Yeah, you know, Because when you, and I think I have some pictures, I don't know if I can show them, but you know, when you like drive by or drive up to Graceland and stuff and the wall and everything, I mean, it's like every inch of it is written on, every inch of it. And it's like usually small, like you kind of like if you're driving far away, you don't per se notice it. It's not like anybody paints or draws like a massive like thing on it. There are some people that draw like Elvis pictures and stuff, and they're really beautiful, they're talented. But you know, you have to get a little bit closer to it so it doesn't look like, you know, like when you're driving down the interstate or something and you see like graffiti on a bridge or something, it doesn't per se look like that from, you know, far away or whatever. But I mean, it still does take away from the beauty of so.
Like they should have saved it for Elvis Week. A lot of people do like the chalk drawings and stuff on Elvis Presley Boulevard because, and that's, I think that's kind of cool because that you're putting together your little altar for Elvis on Elvis Week. And we saw some people last year. They were, I don't think it was paint. It was something that could easily be probably washed away. Like, you know, there's that like concrete paint and chalk paint and all that stuff that is meant for just a temporary thing and then it washes away as soon as the rain gets here. I think that's perfect. If you want to do that during Elvis Week, especially at the Candlelight Vigil, you know, and like let's decorate the sidewalk or decorate the street or something like that, wonderful. But putting a permanent thing that they're going to have to go and blast it with a pressure washer, you know, that's
my only thing that I think that they should like cut it out. And that's a hard thing because, you know, like we said, this is something that people have been doing and they've been coming to Graceland for decades and writing on the wall. And it's almost become woven into the like
it's
culture
like one of the things you do.
And the history as it's something that you do or that you want to do when you get to Graceland and stuff. And so, you know, in that instance, it's hard to just erase it or say like, you know, you can't do it or you're not going to do it. But on the other hand, again, to me, it's about preservation. It's about beauty and about the look and the respect. But it's also about the preservation of that wall and of that iconic place. And, you know, doing whatever we have to do that, you know, it's not going to continue to disintegrate and stuff. And then also, you know, there's so many other ways to pay your respects and your homage to Elvis when you come to Memphis and when you come to Graceland. You know, I mean, like, don't write on the wall, just go kiss it. You know, go, you know, bring, they're happy for you to bring a little something and put it, you know, on Elvis's grave, like at the meditation garden.
That's what I was going to say. If you want to write a letter to Elvis, or if you want to express your gratitude, or
and a lot of people do that,
throw it in the meditation garden on his grave, because then too, like I think they take all those, they probably save them. And that's really sweet. Like I bet they have by year, like they probably could do an exhibit, and it would, I think it'd be really cool to do like, let's pull out everything we gathered up off of Elvis's grave in '84, and like make a little display, and you can see people's little notes and you know, flowers and teddy bears and things. I mean, do that. To me, that's way more significant and special than writing on the wall. But
and instead of just, you know, instead of writing on the wall and like, you know, taking a picture of yourself writing on the wall or like pointing at it or whatever, just take a picture in front of the gates. You know, just take a picture in front of the gates.
I know Heather and I one year did an entire photo shoot of just us at the gates in different poses. I should dig those out because they're pretty comical.
So let's read some comments and questions. Like I said, I feel like this is a hot
topic this week.
You know, and like I said, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about with it, a lot to delve into. So let me see.
What's everybody saying?
I can't wait.
Let me get to see these. Tisa had a great one. She said, Linda Thompson's going to be at Elvis Week. We should ask her about it and see if Elvis ever talked to her about it. Great idea.
Yes.
Great idea. That's what I'm saying. Like, sure, maybe Angie knows. I don't know. Maybe she's seen like some conversations or a letter written or something. I mean, I don't know. But online, I've not found anything to do a definite yes, he loved it, or no, he hated it. It's either or. But that's a great idea. Ask Linda.
All right, let's see. Sandra says, I have signed the wall, but I won't write on anything else. It has to be respected. Teresa says, there's other ways to show your gratitude and your love for Elvis. Absolutely. Let's see. Tammy says, I was just happy to tour Graceland and be near something Elvis loves so much. I didn't feel the need to sign the wall. I would be fine with no further writing on anything.
Okay.
Let's see. Cindy says when she went, she put a cross with roses and did one for Lisa also.
Aww.
Amazing. Tammy says she thinks it's a great idea about the exhibit. You know, they've talked about for a while, and I don't know if it's going to be this year or not, but she said something about doing a exhibit called like from the fans or with love from the fans. And, you know, because they have in the archives all kinds of letters and mementos and stuffed animals and things that fans through the years like sent to Elvis and mailed to Elvis, or, you know, left at Graceland or left at the gates.
I've got it.
And she says they're going to put an exhibit together for that.
They should do 50 years of fans for the 50th. 50 years of fans.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Let's see. Deb says, I agree with the preservation and respect, and the gates being written on is like defacing someone else's property. Absolutely.
Okay, so Penny and Kara are saying that the wall was built shortly after Elvis purchased Graceland. So that is something that he built.
Okay. Yeah.
He had built.
Yeah.
You know, that was
he would have had to. If it didn't already exist, he would have had to, because you got to keep out the fans and the people somehow. Let's see. Let's see. Jane says there are other ways to respect Elvis. Say a prayer or have a book there for people to sign. I think it's disrespectful to destroy the sign and the wall. You know, I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, you know, put out like a little book.
Like a guest book.
But how would you preserve that? When it rains, when it snows, it would just like get ruined.
That's true.
Like there's no way
You'd almost have to put it in like a little phone booth.
Yeah. Or you'd have to, like I said, you'd have to put it literally right as you step into Graceland and let people sign it as you come in.
Yeah.
But that opens up a whole thing, because again, you'd have to actually tour Graceland. Yeah. And get inside Graceland to do it. And then also that's going to tie up the tours and stuff. Because there's going to be some people that are going to write a love letter.
Yeah, like you can't do that. You couldn't have it in Graceland. You, like I say, you'd have to have a little phone booth or something outside of the gate, and let people come in.
Teresa is saying the tour guides have told us to sign the wall before. It's a very what did we say earlier? It's a very encouraged thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
By Graceland and by EPE is to sign the wall.
So maybe Elvis loved it. Maybe that's why they're continuing it on. I can't imagine if Elvis hated it, they would encourage it. So maybe someone there knows that Elvis thought it was great. I don't know. I'm trying to think of me, would I love that if people, I guess I kind of would. I'd be like, oh, that's sweet. I'd go out every day, but oh, look there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of think it's sweet. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying they think it's disrespectful. Yeah, I do feel like that there something does have to be done though about the historical marker being written on and the gates being written on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I do wish the security would crack down on that. I do wish that Graceland and EPE would, make announcements and say do not, even if that has to be included, even if they continue to allow people to sign the wall, that maybe needs to be included as a part of their verbiage when people come, to tour and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop everybody, because again, you've got your, people that just, drive by or just come to see, Graceland, or they don't actually tour it. They just stand out in front of it and take pictures and things like that. And they're,
but that's when you put a little sign. It's like, please do not sign the gate, sign the wall. And I'm telling you, that's when your security needs to step it up. Because if they would, if they do it so often, I think word would get around hey, you can't do this. They're going to stop you.
Yeah. So a lot of people are saying that they have signed the wall, but that they would not sign the gate or the historical marker. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they think just the wall should be written on.
Yeah, Tammy said someone posted pictures of parts of the wall that are already disintegrating, and she thinks it's probably due to that pressure washing. Could be. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even if it's brick and stone and mortar or whatever, water is some of the most powerful stuff there is.
Oh, for sure.
And, over time, again, if you were doing that, and I don't know how often Graceland and EPE wash the wall. I'm going to ask when I'm there. I'm going to ask for you guys when I'm there. I'm going to be like, how often do you all pressure wash this wall? But, even if it's a, couple times a year or something. Still,
a lot.
That's a
a lot.
couple too many. Let's see. Went there.
Whoa, there's some serious comments.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying they feel like security should be monitoring more closely. Yeah, it does. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, you know, it looks tacky.
It does.
And it does. It does.
Because that's such a regal, old Southern mansion and property. And like I say, here in Nashville, there's plenty of stars homes that have gates and walls and things around it. And I don't remember it ever being a problem here of people like signing things. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. True, Angelique's like, why do they sign it? Why don't you just get a photo and then you can show everybody you're there? True. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was going to try to, let's see. Because I had.
Oh, you have something else
to
show?
No, I just had a picture I noticed that I saw earlier when I was flipping through my thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures. I had one like of the wall that kind of showed, because, you know, some people may not have ever seen it.
True.
You know, they might not have ever seen like what it looks like when people have like written on it and stuff. So
I probably could look one up on my
phone. I'm going to see if I could find it now. But like I said, going through my pictures is like crazy. I've got to get some of these off my phone.
I know. I'll look it up. Graceland Walker. Ooh. The images.
I'm sure a lot.
Oh, don't Google it, guys. Don't Google it.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It is a lot. Let's see what this one does. Yeah, so and there's been a lot of vandalism kind of on it too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, and that's another point that it brings up is, you know, for those that are like crummy people that aren't Elvis fans that are just looking for somewhere to, you know,
to write something
deface or
hateful.
graffiti or whatever, you know, them like walking by Graceland, they're like, oh, it's already written on.
Yeah.
And, you know, that does encourage that behavior as well.
It also is like, well, I guess we can do this, like little vandals and stuff. They're like, no one's, you know, said anything so far. Let's do it. Like, here's a little picture. And this is what we're talking about. That you can see there's a ton of signatures, but you can't really see it. You can't really see it from the road. Like you can tell this was taken from a car in the road, and like you can see a little bit of stuff, but not really. So that's not, you know, too bad, like the little signatures and stuff like that. But sometimes it gets a little much.
Yeah.
It's a little much. So I don't know.
Yeah, because you get those people, you know, that are like, oh, I want my name to be the biggest. You know, and they're like writing huge or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness.
Like, okay, that's a lot. That's a lot.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, you know, what Graceland and EP do, if they address it further, if they move it, if something else happens. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And now I'm interested to get to Elvis Week and see, because, you know, that also brings up a whole thing of, like we said, that's right there beside the gates, like on the sidewalk of Graceland. And that's where, you know, you line up for the candlelight vigil. And that's where you walk in for the candlelight vigil. So now that's going to be there. And, or is it going to be there by Elvis Week?
Who knows?
Who knows? So
yeah. They might even make a special thing and take it down for Elvis Week. I don't know. Although if it's like,
no, I don't think they'll take it down.
I would think it's.
Oh, you mean just the like
the
thing?
Little fence thing?
Oh yeah, I thought you meant like the marker. I was like,
no, I don't even know about the fence because I'm sure like they had to drill into the concrete and stuff to get it in there. So who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so interesting thing. So I think though I feel like the consensus is everybody's, you know, like keep off the marker and the gates, and then the wall is still up for debate. So yeah, hopefully hopefully this will spur something in the Elvis community, and all those fans that maybe have written on the gate in the past, or the marker will kind of be like, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. And we'll deter it, hopefully, organically.
Yeah.
We'll come together as a community and just be like, guys, it's really poo-pooed upon.
Yeah.
I mean, this gate and the marker.
Yeah. And honestly, like whenever Holly and I have been there and touring and stuff, I mean, I've definitely seen many people signing the wall.
Yeah.
But I've never seen anybody sign the gates or the sign, because I can tell you what, if Heather Norman did see someone starting to write, I would tell them not to. I would have no problem.
Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do the marker.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody actually write on the sign or the gates. And if I did, I would tell them. I would be like, please don't do that. Write on the wall, but come on. So.
That's interesting.
Let's see. I know. Interesting.
I know. The hot topic, I tell you. Well, what else we got? That was our main thing this week, was we were just really up in arms about all that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I just thought that was an interesting thing. And then I was kind of taken aback when I saw the picture posted and I saw the little fence thing that they had put around it. And I was kind of like, ooh, that doesn't look great. And, why? So,
yeah, some of y'all are saying you signed the wall, but that it didn't cross your mind to sign the gate or the marker. Yeah. Interesting. Well, we'll keep you all updated. We'll see if anything comes about with this. Because did it just go up this week?
I mean, that's the first I've seen or heard about it.
I feel like
it did because, I feel like the Graceland or the Elvis fans are on it about any kind of change or thing like that. Especially, like the Insiders page and like other Facebook groups and stuff. I feel like as soon as any little thing happens,
well, then let's.
So I can't imagine that it would have gone up, before this week.
And we should give it a chance. Let's give it a week or two. Let's see if Graceland does come out with a statement or a little Facebook post about it. They might. Maybe they're, working on it. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if it stays. It may be gone in 2 or 3 weeks. We don't know. We have no idea. It's going to be funny if it was just up for like a construction purpose or something. We'll all be like, what?
Well, it still does bring up a valid point, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it is, it still brings up that valid point of, not writing on it.
Yeah.
Don't write on it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now I'm just dreading going there because I know how people are. That thing's going to be covered with stuff. And that's just extra work for the staff at Graceland to have to take all that stuff down, because people are going to start throwing things in it. And I'm meaning by like offerings, like throwing in a teddy bear or flowers or whatnot. And that's just, or tying a ribbon to it or tying a picture of themselves or elves like that. It just opens a can of worms, y'all. It really, really does. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you all for all your comments. We love them. As always, Heather will be going through them after the live and chit-chatting with you guys and seeing everybody's opinion. And we'll keep you updated on it. We'll see what it looks like in the next couple of weeks. I'm anxious to see if the actual gate around it stays pristine, or if we're going to get a picture. If you happen to go by there and you see a bunch of stuff on it, send us a picture and let us know.
Yeah.
Keep us updated as well. All of our Memphian Elvis besties out there that can get to Graceland a little more often than we can. So we're going to rely on you all. But anyway, have a wonderful week. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Don't forget, go over and share this video. Go over to YouTube, like our YouTube channel. We've got a new Instagram channel, and I saw a bunch of y'all were on there following this week. Thank you so much. We're trying to get that up and running, but it's almost all we can do to get this Facebook going, but we're working on it. We are working on YouTube and Instagram, so we will see you all back very, very soon. Heather, you got anything else?
I don't.
You good?
Have a great week.
Bye, y'all.